And you're watching Roots TV Nigeria. In the past few days, Zamfara State has been in the news for banditry, which has had attacks on citizens of that state. We have heard of kidnappings, murders, and as of 2018, the state government estimated the death toll from banditry at 3,000 people. And then there have been over 2,000 houses burned and millions of naira worth of property destroyed. To understand what's going on in Zamfara and other surrounding states who are experiencing the same thing, we have right here in the studio Mr. Mike Ejiofor, who is the former director for Department of State Services. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, paint a picture for us. What exactly is happening in Zamfara and when did all this start?
Well, Zamfara State is incidentally one of the most peaceful states before this time. I recall that in 2006, I was a state director then, and it was a very peaceful state. We had a few cases of cattle rustling, and it was a very peaceful state. And I think I would say that that state was actually one of the states I enjoyed most in terms of relative peace. But today, Zamfara is in news, not for any good reason, but for this banditry that has taken over the place, leading to loss of lives, and is a big concern that government should address. I also recall that towards the end of last year, the governor came out to say that he was resigning as the chief security officer of the state. And then I asked, for every position you have, there's a responsibility attached to it. So if you say you are not going to be chief security officer, you are made chief security officer because you are the governor of the state. But if you say you are no longer going to be the chief security officer, then you should resign as a governor.
Let's even go back to when this started. I mean, you talked about 2006 when you were there at the DSS in Zamfara. It was safe. So when some have said it started 2008, 2010, when can we even say banditry started? Is it a new thing or it has always been there?
Yeah, it's always been there, but not in this magnitude. You see robbery then, cattle rustling, and it was not in this magnitude. Not until about 2, 3, 4 years ago, and the thing started escalating. It started from the issue of mining and the bandits. So I think what is actually responsible for what I have gathered now from the statement, the press statement issued by the Inspector General of Police yesterday, you know, you have the intelligence component, you have the operational component, which is manned by the police, while the SSS takes the intelligence component. So what I believe very strongly is that politicians are behind the problem. Politicians, for economic reasons, you see, they mine, because we've not had cases of disruption of mining in that area. So, and the people are working there. So why should they be attacking communities?
So how are these politicians responsible for this? Because I was going to ask you the relationship between mining and banditry, as the government has suspended illegal mining for a period there to curtail the banditry. And a lot of people have kept asking, what is the relationship between mining and banditry? Now you have brought in another component, which is the fact that politicians could also be involved in this. So marry these three components for me. How does it work?
You know, if I'm no more in the service, but I think the service should be in a better position to say that. But I believe that, you know, the politicians use this to cause distraction from taking people's mind away from their mining, where they make money. And because if you look at it, you hardly can see where the mining is being disrupted. So they go to attack communities where you have these mineral resources. And when they attack them, you divert attention, they concentrate on their mining. And that is callous, it's wicked, because you cannot, because of economic reasons or what you tend to gain, deprive people of their lives and livelihood. So I think it's, let's watch and see how this is going to play out if government decision we actually curtailed it.
You know, because as you're saying, there's a whole lot of things are running through my head. First of all, you know, there are people who have accused the president, the governor, and all the governors of the northern states for ignoring this until it has escalated to this point. I mean, Kadaria Ahmed, who's a journalist, carried out a march just a few days ago. Even in the UK, there were different sorts of protests against what's happening in Zamfara. So would you say that the government, the president, and everybody involved, the authorities have, you know, ignored this?
No, I wouldn't say ignored it, but I think the government underestimated the impact until it has gone out of control. It's not that government...
With 3,000 people killed in 2018, they still underestimated this?
No. I mean, possibly they underestimated the impact of what was going on, or they couldn't find a solution to it. But now that they come up with possible solutions, let's give it a try and see. Because in all this, you ask yourself, how many arrests have been made?
Exactly.
No arrests are made. You continue to hear people are killed, people are buried, and it's worrisome. So I think...
okay, so let's talk about ending, you talk about ending mining or suspending illegal mining in Zamfara state. But banditry has also been witnessed, although not in the scale as Zamfara, but we're witnessing this and reporting it in the news happening in Adamawa, in Taraba, and some other adjoining states, border states. So if you're going to suspend mining in Zamfara, what are you going to do in states like Adamawa and Taraba to handle that?
You see, the problem is that each state has its own peculiar problem. You take Benue, for instance. You have this ethnic coloration of their crisis. If you go to Kaduna, you also see it. You see the ethnic linings in their own case. But in Zamfara, it's a monolithic state. So you begin to ask yourself, if not for economic reasons,
what else could be responsible for that? Because it means like they are the ones killing themselves.
Exactly.
Now, I've had a security expert who has said that some of these people, these bandits are not even Nigerians. They are people who have crossed the border into this country to foment, you know, these crises. What do you say to that? Do you agree?
Well, that's self-indicting. If you say that foreigners are coming to attack in Nigeria, what are their aims? And how did they come in? Our borders not manned? That's self-indicting as well on the part of
but
government.
Our borders are quite porous.
Their borders are porous, but not to the extent of allowing bandits to come in from outside. I don't buy into that idea.
But I doubt they will be coming in as bandits. They probably be coming in as settlers and then armed. You already said that politicians probably could be using people to divert, or these killings to divert attention from the illegal mining where they're making a lot of money from. Yeah. So you don't see the possibility that this actually could be foreigners, or maybe using the word foreigner makes it ambiguous, but people who are trickling into this country.
There's no way in intelligence. There is no way. I give you an example, like in espionage, for instance.
Okay.
There's no way an outsider can come out and operate without the collaboration of the locals. So they cannot come and operate without the collaboration of the locals. So there is this nexus between the locals and the foreigners, in quote, if the foreigners are really there. So I don't think it needs a local solution. It's a local problem that requires a local solution.
So it's not a cross-border solution.
It's not a cross-border solution.
It's not a cross-border solution. Let's also look at this. They have an insinuation in some quarters. I'll put this across to you, of course. It may not be substantiated, but this is chatter in certain quarters, that with the crisis in Zamfara and so many other parts of the northern part of the country, that will increase security votes. Therefore, if these crises continue, more money to security agencies and to all the people who benefit or profit from this. What would you say to that?
That is laughable. It's laughable. How do you increase? Look, you're coming into governance. The primary responsibility of government is welfare and security of the people. So how do you create problems to now increase your security vote? The security vote, at least to the governor, they are static. They are based on allocation. The only difference is that most times they fail to account for all this. You can as well take the money without doing anything. So I don't see how you're going to create problems, because you'll be seen to have failed as a government, both at the local state and federal level. So I don't think any sane government will go and create problems.
Governor Yari is really struggling in Zamfara state, and he's been calling for federal might. At some point, he even asked for a declaration of a state of emergency in his state. And a lot of people have criticized his inability to handle this. First of all, do you think he has failed, or of course, you did criticize the fact that he wanted to resign, which you said that was not a method of handling things. But what do you think he could have done right? Do you think he could have done something earlier? What could he have done earlier? And what can federal government do for him beyond just banning mining, or illegal mining?
You forget that the president once launched an operation there where military was deployed last year. So I think the government, in his own part, as a state governor and the chief security officer of the state, there are certain steps he ought to have taken.
Example?
There are certain steps he ought to have taken by supporting the security agencies. He claims he has been supporting the security agencies, but you can see from the demonstrations so far in the social media from Kadirat and that, that he doesn't stay in Zamfara. He governs from Abuja. That's the allegation. And if you are a visiting governor, how do you solve the problem? And there are many governors who do that. They take a location, share the money, and don't do anything, and they go back. The same thing with the local government level. At the local government level, the chairmen are not accountable. They don't do anything. They go to the state capital, share their money, and they disappear without doing anything, without caring for the people.
So
it's quite unfortunate.
So for all intents and purposes, he is lacking in so many aspects. And then, he hasn't even done the primary assignment of trying to fix things in the state before requesting federal might. Meanwhile, of course, the federal government did bring the military, but obviously it hasn't solved much of the problem. I mean, just a few days ago, over 100 people killed in Zamfara, so that hasn't helped matters.
I don't think this thing requires military solution.
Yes, because I was about to ask you, what is the solution to this?
You see, there are wars of the mind, psychological approaches. There is unemployment, there is economic hard times. So once these issues are addressed, I think it will take care of some of the problems. We don't have electricity. And if there's power, people are bound to work and be engaged. But for now, all those things are, the basic infrastructure are lacking. And people are killed, there's no medical facilities, and you continue to look at it. So the government has to look at providing the basic infrastructure facilities.
Some people have said that this was really how Boko Haram started, very little, very small skirmishes and a few issues here and there until it has bloomed into an internationally recognized terrorist group. Some people are seeing banditry as the next Boko Haram and could even get worse than Boko Haram. Do you share the same sentiment? Do you think this is a possibility?
Well, I do, because you recall, apart from the fact that I say it's an indictment on government to admit that there are foreigners operating, you also recall that the Islamic State of West Africa has established presence, not only in the northeast, but in the northwest, where they are operating in Zamfara state. So I think the government should look inwards, look at the structure, the aims and objectives of all these people to see how it can be tackled, because it's a major problem.
So you think banditry could basically be an offshoot of Boko Haram, or could even replace Boko Haram? And in a few years' time,
expanding their frontiers. And you don't forget that this is not limited to Zamfara state.
Of course.
You have them in the south. Yesterday, I was reading in the papers, the director of Federal Fire Service in Lagos was kidnapped.
True.
There is a lot of kidnaps ongoing everywhere. So nobody is safe. And we have all these, the military is not safe, religious leaders are not safe. Everybody is a potential target. I was just about to telling me that most top military and security officials now travel by road, by rail, because they cannot apply Abuja Kaduna Road because of the incidents there, and it's quite disheartening.
Let's round this up. I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up. You yourself, quite recently, you were kidnapped. And you spent 4 days in the kidnapper's den along with some of your associates. You ended up paying a ransom to be freed. So you have a first-hand understanding of what is going on. Now, based on this, what would you say? We want to understand what's going on in the minds of the victims and what kind of psychological help, beyond just ending this, what kind of help do the victims of what has happened in Zamfara and other states need right now?
You know what, I would like to say this. Anybody wishing away this kidnap for now is just not serious. It has come to stay with us and it's not going out so soon. Reason is that these people operate in syndicate, they operate in cells. And within the cell, you have their intelligence network, you have the operational network, you have the people who give them information. I was with them for 4 days, so I was able to study their modus operandi. And they are very well organized. They have backings, people supply them arms. These arms don't just come in like that. So it's a problem that has come to stay with us. What I believe that government should do is to try as much as possible to reduce it to the barest minimum. But whether it's going now, it's not going anywhere.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Mr. Mike Ejiofor, for taking our time to talk to us here on Roots TV Nigeria. We would like to get your comments on the various aspects of this conversation. A lot of things have been discussed here, and Mr. Ejiofor has shed light on so many aspects of what's going on in Taraba and the adjoining states. Please give us your comments on the comment section of this video. You're watching Roots TV Nigeria. My name is Gloria Oji Emode.